the thought crossed my mind that why am I in business? Why am I working so hard? And why is there no reward with time off and with money? So we were paying ourselves very little at the beginning.
What's the profit going to be in this 12 months?
We think we're going to turn over at least 8.5 mil. That's the projected based on the current rate. But it'll probably be a little bit better than that. And we're going to be projected just over 800,000 profit.
Since 2018, you've gone from negative 146 to over 800,000. That's like life-changing. Tell us a little about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Steve Saradellis. I run a company named Tiba. We specialise in helping medium and large enterprises give their users access to applications and data easily and securely.
Wow. And so tell me, if I went back in time and I saw the Steve back in the early days, the first decade, what would I see?
You'd see a lot more hair, and it would be as dark as yours, David. That's what you'd see. Look, it was hectic. We were in the mode that if anything needed to be done, we just did it. We worked days ending in Y, and we worked all evenings. So we even had a bed in the office at one stage.
Are you kidding me?
No. So my business partner, Michael, would sleep in the office occasionally. It was quicker than driving home. And basically, it was a 7-day operation.
And how many hours were you really putting in, including working in the business, but also on the business activities?
Look, the answer is all of them. It was all in.
It can't be all in. It had you have to have some downtime. Like, how many hours were you really putting in?
Well, actually, funny story about downtime. I know that Nick asked us the question a while ago. This is going back a few years. Like, when's the last time you took leave? And we tried to pass off leave as going to a conference overseas and working day and night. So he actually said, look, when did you actually take leave where you went away and you didn't work at all? And Craig, my current business partner, actually said 1992. And after Nick finished laughing, he said, no, I'm serious. It was 1992. And then he asked me the question, and I thought about it. I was like, yeah, I took 3 months off. It was a very long holiday in 1993. So technically, no, we did not take leave, David. It was work.
So how long did it take you to get to your first 7 figures? And then we talk about where you are at least 7 years ago when we met.
And when we started, it was sub $1 million. Okay, in the first year, we didn't even hit 1 million. So it wasn't too bad from 1998 to the early 2000s. We did a little bit of growth, but it was very slow growth. Every year we just did a bit better and a bit better and a bit better. There was a lot of companies that started at the same time we did, just before the .com boom/bust. And 19 out of 20 of those companies that we started with just disappeared. So the only good thing we had going for us was our growth was not exponential because they just dropped off a cliff. Ours was just consistent growth. And that's how we got to the 3.6.
And so what were some of the things that were the biggest challenges facing the business of those in the first decade anyway?
Look, we started the business being everything for small business.
Yeah.
So we did accounting systems, CRM, document management, point of sale, inventory systems, warehouse systems, ERP systems, and software development. And on the side, we did our core business, which was actually the computer networks. So we did get to know everything about small business and become everything to small business. But one of the lessons we learned is that focus is important. Being everything to those businesses meant that we had to skill up. So we slowly let go of all those business lines and started dealing with much bigger companies. So it was a big shift in our thinking and our go-to-market.
What were the biggest stresses for you and your business partner at the time?
Biggest stress? Profitability. When you start a business and you pay yourself exactly $10,200 in the first year, right, for the whole year, so that's $200 a week, and then at the end of the year you've spent all the money and there's no money left over, that's not a profitable business. That's not even a business to start with. If we go in 20 years in, we turned over $5.5 million, so that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? But apparently we lost $146,000 that year, so that is negative profitability.
Well, most people don't realize there are sweet spots in the business, and that $5.5 million is right out of the sweet spot. You're right in the desert, and it's like grow, incremental growth. Keep on going, that's going to be fine. But the winning strategy that gets you to one place is actually the losing strategy to go to the next place. And just growth and keep on doing growth doesn't work. So negative 146,000. That's a bit of an ouch. Like, how did you manage the mindset piece around that?
Look, we were lucky because we had very good accounting practices in place. And what I mean by accounting practices, we had a prepay system and still do. Like if you wanted hardware or software from us, the sequence of events was, here's an invoice. When we get the acknowledgement the money is in our bank account, we will then purchase and send you that equipment. Okay. So even the years where we had negative profit, we had positive cash flow.
And I think this is a really important point because people think that what they see in their P&L, they get to the end of the financial year and the accountant goes, oh, you made X hundreds of thousands of dollars ago. Yeah, but nothing in my bank account. What's going on?
That's right. Bank account's empty.
Because what happens in the profit and loss is fiction. But what happens in the cash flow, and as you know, we talk about the 13-week rolling cash flow forecast and your balance sheet, that is fact. And what you've done is you've moved one of the levers because there are 5 levers that you can pull to generate cash. And what most people forget about their balance sheet was receivable, payable, and inventory days. And effectively what you're doing is you're bringing that forward so that you're bringing the cash out. But there is a point, though, if it doesn't change, that the music stops and you're left. What was the level of joy that you had in your business, certainly in the early days?
Look, David, there was a few years in the early days that the joy was negative. So I could tell you I would wake up in the morning and dread the things I had to do because there was 100 items on my to-do list and I still had my technical hat on. So officially I was CEO, head technician, head of service department, head of sales, head of everything. So it was hard in those days and joy wasn't in the vocabulary at all. Like it just didn't exist. It was, let's build a business, let's make it profitable and we'll worry about joy later. Right? That was the way we thought about things.
So knowing what you now know, if you had to go back in time, what would you do differently, Steve?
Just about everything, David. Just about everything except for collect money up front, right? We'd do that exactly the same. So number one, we would very quickly get assistants and coordinators to do our admin work, right? That would be day one. And I've started other businesses since, businesses with other people. They're very small businesses. And the first thing we do is we actually set up the business correctly. We do the chart of accounts correctly. And we say, who's going to do the bookkeeping that does not work here? Okay. That's the first thing we do. So I've learned that lesson and I've managed to spin up businesses like within a month that are fully operational rather than it took us years and years. Well, it took us 10 years exactly to get an assistant. Okay, 2018, we changed the way we did sales and we got what we call a coordinator on board.
We've been doing this for a fair while. Do you want to just share what have been some of the key distinctions that you now know or that you've learned over since 2018 as we've really scaled the business up and particularly scaled your profit?
Yeah. So look, this is going to sound strange to some people, but you guys said to us, the business owners that take the most time off end up doing the best. And my brain, and I guess most people's brains think about, well, when I do well, then I will take time off, right? Logical? Yeah. Well, we didn't discover it, but we have come to know that it works exactly the opposite way. The more time you take off, the better the business does. And to explain that, it's simple. If you're going to take time off, you need to get your shit together. Everything needs to be up to date. You need to delegate to other people in order to go away and not be contactable and basically have real time off. And then the trick is when you get back to not take that work back again. And while you're away, your brain is free to think creatively. And that's where the good ideas come in and the ideas of what are we not doing well? What should we stop doing?
What is your time like now as far as hours in and on the business?
We're going into a bit of an acquisition trail later this year. So my goal is to drop from 20 hours to 4 and then spend the rest of my time like on the business, full stop.
Yeah, so interesting. So you've gone from really easily 75 hours during the week plus weekends, now down to 20 hours and now looking going to 4 hours in the current business so that you can free up your time to do other things, particularly in mergers and acquisitions type.
Correct.
How do you feel about that?
Now that's joy. Okay. That's business joy, because looking for other businesses, merging businesses, improving systems, like that's what gives me joy. And freeing up that time. And look, when you actually become profitable, and obviously we're now profitable, which is great, it takes a little bit of a burden off your mind that, hey, we need to find another 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, whatever it is this week. Otherwise, we're going to lose money. So it allows you to be more creative. And obviously at the same time, you can do more things better. And you do the things that you enjoy rather than doing the things that just have to be done.
And I know your wife, Lynn, is also involved in the business. So I'm just curious, what would she say about the Steve now versus the Steve pre-2018?
Okay. We should probably go and ask her. But what I think she would say, she's had a common complaint that I don't spend enough time with her, which is fair enough. It's a very good complaint. When you're working that many hours, even though she was working in the business, like most of our communications by email, like sometimes we'd go whole weeks and not talk to each other. And we live in the same house and work in the same business. So she gets to spend a little bit more time with me, and especially when going on leave. So, for example, last night we just flew home from Hamilton Island. We were at her brother's wedding. We popped up there late last week, and we popped back in again yesterday, Wednesday. Back in the 2000s, that would never have happened. It would have been, sorry, can't come.
When you think of the future, given the insights you've got right now, paint a picture of where do you think the business will be in the future, and maybe where you're going to be particularly, Steve.
Well, look, I've managed to be able to work from any location in the world, which is handy. The only trouble I have sometimes is if I'm overseas, I would, the time zone difference. But now that I take actual leave, that's not a problem. So I don't need to be working in a time zone difference. But even right now, most of my work is done, I don't know if people will see the video, but most of my work is done from the beach, okay? So I do work on my tan quite a bit. And my whole office is my mobile phone and a charger, so something to keep the juice going, and a headset, right? So a lot of my work is meetings, and mostly with vendors and internal team members. So as far as the business is concerned, I mean, I'll continue to work from any location. In fact, our whole business is about empowering people to work from any location. So we do drink our own champagne or eat our own dog food, as some people say.
So, Steve, since 2018, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned through this process?
Yeah, look, one of the main lessons that we learned is that we had a notion that it'd be good to replace ourselves, or at least replace myself in the business, with another general manager or putting a CEO in place. And that sort of stuff was always another one of our dreams. Like, okay, can we get it to a point where somebody else can run it, okay, day to day?
So can we get to the point where we could give someone a handball or give them a hospital pass if they could do it?
Yeah. And as we know, that doesn't work. And what I mean it doesn't work is that if we're running around like headless chooks and we hand over to somebody else, within a year or two, they're going to run around like headless chooks. That doesn't work. So the biggest takeaway is to get our heads of departments going. So put someone in charge of each department and make sure they're running it day to day, whether they're just a head, or as we say, head and hands. In other words, if we're not big enough, they're going to be the head of the department, but they're actually going to have to get their hands dirty as well to do some work.
So now that you've got your team and you put them into engine rooms, what has been the difference that it's made to the business? Same people, but allocating better and having closer accountability. What's that done for the business?
Well, basically it allows each engine room to focus on their own stuff, but the engine room leaders, whatever you want to call them, we call them heads of a department, have weekly meetings and they talk to each other about what each other's doing. But the difference is they don't get in each other's business per se, but they do know about what the others are doing. And a lot of things that happen are cross-functional, right? So, accounts always gets involved no matter which department it is, as an example. Marketing mainly deals with sales, but occasionally goes and talks to production as well. So it's good getting those people together and then they update on what they're doing, what, as we call them, big rocks they're working on. And sometimes somebody from another department has a great idea and they just throw it into the mix and they go, oh yeah, we never would have thought of that. So it's good to have a small team of people that are managing as opposed to managing everybody in the organization.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference.
Yeah, that's huge. So, one of the things that, since 2018 that you've worked with us, what have been some of the things you've implemented on?
I'm going to be direct and honest as usual, David. So in the beginning, we did not follow everything you told us to do. So it was like, yeah, that's easy. Yeah, we don't need to do that. Don't worry about that. Yeah, that's kindergarten stuff. Yeah, we know all that. But the fundamentals are the fundamentals. And it took us a few years to realize that you just got to go back to the fundamentals and build a base and then build on that. As a lot of business owners have, and I did, the shiny object syndrome. Okay, oh yeah, let's do this, and then let's do that, and let's do that. And we ended up doing 5, 6, 7, 8 things at once, which, as we know, don't work. So fundamentally, having the focus on big rocks every sprint, every 4 months, starting and finishing something is the most important thing that we found. If you're going to start it, finish it. And until you finish it, don't start something new. So just because Steve, the CEO, has got some great idea, and it might be a great idea, and then we start something, and then he's got another great idea, might be another great idea, and then we start another thing and another thing, the team gets worn out. They don't know what to focus on. And as we teach other people, multitasking kills, right? It kills productivity. So it is better to give them 1 or 2 things to focus on than trying to get them to do it all at once.
Interesting. Tell me, Steve, see if you can follow through on this question. I almost didn't become a member of Abundance Global because...
I almost didn't become a member of Abundance Global because we were stuck in another coaching group.
And you've been here for quite a while, so what keeps you here then?
You, David, of course. No, you and the team, right? Well, there's no point in time where we're going to know everything. And there's never a point in time where you don't need mentoring and coaching, ever. So the classic example, people have been around for a little bit longer. Tiger Woods, best golfer in our lifetime, has a coach. Like you would never be at the top of your field without a coach. It just doesn't work that way. I've been fortunate enough to actually mentor some small businesses myself. Like these are businesses that turn over like $100,000, $150,000. They're tiny, but they need help as well. And they need help from people that have been there, done that. That's the point.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point because you've been around, you've done lots of courses and seminars over the years. And what I've noticed is that some people come in, they just want a magic pill or a silver bullet. What advice would you give someone like that?
Yeah, there is a silver bullet. There absolutely is a silver bullet. Do what David tells you. If we'd done that from day one, we would have been like triple where we are now. So there's your silver bullet.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that. That's cool. Who do you think Abundance Global is suited for, and maybe who's it not suited for, Steve?
Yeah. Okay. I'll start with a not. Okay, that's an easy one. If you already think you know it all and you can't improve anything, then forget about it. Okay. If you know that there is a better way, but you're looking for an actual formula, an actual process, and the ability to be flexible as well, because as much as you can have the fundamentals right, the environment changes.
So true.
And we know for a fact that what you were doing 2 years ago, you may not be able to do today because the environment's changed. So that, to me, it's for people that are open-minded and want to improve. So learners that want to do.
Love it. Gold. We love having you in the community. We love everything you do.